How's it going, everybody? This is Aaron the Pedantic and Venger Satanis with Gonzo up your ass. If you came here for Sesame Street Fursona stuff, you might be in the right place. I'm kidding. Well, the reason I said I forgot that I was going to start by saying that this is the inserting the Gonzo episode. So that would have made more sense if I would have led with that and then gone to the other thing. But I got it mixed up whenever the time actually came. But yeah, so today we're going to be talking about taking your vanilla settings and then inserting the Gonzo. So Venture, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing good. Doing good. Yeah. It's going. We're all tired, I think. And it feels like the end of the week, but it's the beginning.
Yeah, which is really sad because I'm working like a 12-day stretch or something like that. So yeah. I work through the weekend and then all the way up till Thursday, and then next Thursday, and then so yeah, it's really bad time for it to feel like the end of the week.
Yes. But yeah, I'm good. Do we have people? Oh, I should get on see if people are chatting. Do we have people that are like watching now live?
Not so much. Not a lot of people have trickled in yet, but okay. We got Doof. What's up, Doof?
Sup, Doof?
Doof says every setting needs a little Gonzo up the ass.
just to spice things up.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, Aaron, you've run how many? Not including one shots. How many campaigns do you think you've run? Like between like a 2-shot versus like a longer campaign that's lasted like a few months?
If you do it that way, I would say probably about 7. I want to say maybe 7. Yeah. Because I had some pretty good luck for a newbie when it comes to running campaigns, because my first ones, they were at least a year each.
Okay.
And
yeah. And how many of those were any of them Gonzo?
Yeah. I mean, definitely my Chalt campaign for sure. Okay. Which I actually did. I did 2 Chalt campaigns. One of them lasted for, I guess a couple months, and then the other one lasted for about 6 months. And the only reason that one stopped is because people had to go off and do some things. People joined the army and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so one of them was with. I want to say the first one was with 5th edition because there was the promise of 05R and I was putting it to the test, and the other one was with Dungeon Crawl Classics. I do have a coughing wife nearby, so I apologize. She's ruining this.
Now we all have the COVID. Good job, Dolly.
It's not the coof. I'm pretty sure it's not the coof.
Okay.
I would say there goes monetization, but I've already said Gonzo up your ass like 4 times, so I think
that's all it takes.
I think that's all it takes. Yeah, I think after 3, it's like Beetlejuice.
Right. So besides the non-Chalt ones, the rest of your campaigns were not Gonzo. Is that?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I never really well, not never. I usually have some element of Gonzo included. I like to have some kind of surreal, weird stuff in just about every campaign, except for the Dark Albion one, the Lion and Dragon game, because obvious reasons it would just be wrong.
Yeah.
Wrong. But yeah, I always have elements, but I would say that the 2 Chalt games, those were the ones that were, unabashedly Gonzo.
Now, how did your players take you dropping in elements of Gonzo? Did they like that? Did they sort of take to that, or were they kind of like, whoa, or put off by it? Or
I have yet to, like, I don't know if I've just had a really good run of, just good luck, but I haven't had a situation where anybody was like, okay, that's just too far, too weird for me. No, not interested. Like, I haven't really had that happen. Most of the time, whenever I've ever had any kinds of negative player feedback, it was usually if it was actual negative and not just, oh, you should probably consider this or something like that, then it was usually procedural, not so much the style of content or anything like that. People seem to be really amused by some of the stuff that they encountered, this is the cultists in the Temple of Krodemek, for instance, being total potheads and druggies. That was like, and I made no attempts really to separate that from like how a druggie might be portrayed in Earth. I just made them kind of like alien druggie. It was so a bit of Rastafari, kind of stuff going on. And
did you give them a Jamaican accent?
Oh, I didn't go that far. I didn't think of it. Okay. I didn't think of it, but
do they have dreadlocks?
I didn't describe him as dread, but I had kind of like the spirit, and the whole thing about how they're really easily fooled because they're all kind of like they got bong brain more or less. That was it was incredibly humorous, and they really appreciated it because the first, well, actually, I'd say both groups. One of the groups was primarily experienced with 5th edition, and so they'd kind of been geared toward, we're gonna fight stuff, fight. And in this case, this was a dungeon where they're like, well, no, we can, like, we don't always have to do that. Like, there's some real interesting little tricks we can pull because they were supposed to guard a dungeon, but then they got high.
Yeah, I didn't write Beneath Krodemek, which is in Chult, if anybody cares or if anybody's watching this. I didn't write that specifically as an answer to the question that nobody asked. What would it be like to have a non-combat dungeon? But at the same time, that's kind of what it is. It's kind of like, because every time I've run it, combat has been few and far between. It's been mostly exploration and social interaction. A lot of talking to NPCs and negotiating their way out of things. The clever ruse and like tricking the cultists and the priests into like either doing their bidding or joining them or letting them do stuff throughout the temple. Which is cool because you don't get that a lot, especially with 5th edition. It's like, yeah, fight. Explore, fight, social interaction, fight. Yeah.
There's
with the Gonzo, I feel like, well, there's two things. One, in a D&D realm, I think you can stretch what's possible pretty far before you get into Gonzo territory. So what seems, if you drop in something crazy like a talking skull that's just like floating in the air, like talking to people, and maybe every once in a while blasting PCs if it doesn't like their answer, something like that, which is something I've done before in 5th edition. Like, that isn't necessarily Gonzo because this is, a D&D fantasy world. And the other thing is humor. Like, when you purposely put something in that or you think it's going to be funny, and the players are going to laugh, and the characters are going to be like, WTF, like, what's going on? What is this? I mean, I like that kind of thing. I throw that in, and that's kind of, a characteristic of Gonzo. Doesn't have to, necessarily be Gonzo just because it's funny. But I think more often than not, those two things go hand in hand. And that's one of the enjoyments I get out of Gonzo, is because it kind of lightens the whole mood, and maybe it makes people laugh. But it's just so strange and absurd, which is what you said earlier. And I like being in that zone because, for a variety of reasons. I mean, it's just different. It's just something that's special. It's not like every other campaign or adventure. It's non-standard. It's just kind of like wild and free and out there, and you might not have ever experienced anything like that before. Maybe you won't again if you don't play in a particular Gonzo campaign. So riff off that now, you.
Yeah, I agree. I get what you're saying, and like there, I think that there's some wisdom in people talking about like just kind of using the vanilla in order to make the Gonzo stand out, or really just any kind of whatever it is you're trying to highlight. You need to have a serious contrast in a lot of ways, and sometimes you contrast Gonzo with different Gonzo. I feel like that's one of the things that like makes Chalt not feel like one note, for instance. Is that, you know, you play off of different types of Gonzo. Hubris also does that. Mike Evans' Hubris, which is also really cool. You know, like you're gonna have, for instance, sci-fi elements, and then you're gonna have Lovecraft, and then you're gonna have, you know, like TV show stuff. You know, Hubris doesn't do TV show stuff as much, but you know, so it's like you're hitting all these different flavors, so that you're not just having, you know, like I don't know, triple chocolate deluxe or something the whole time. You know, you're also getting some peanut butter in there occasionally. Maybe you're swapping, doing a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And that's one of the reasons that I think it's a good thing to just like occasionally let these things, you know, just come into even just the standard stuff. Because right now I'm mostly doing vanilla, but you can be damn sure that there is a crashed spaceship out there in Greyhawk somewhere to be found. You know, there's all kinds of stuff like that. So,
and I mean, that goes back to the earliest beginnings of D&D, where you have a mostly vanilla setting, and then every once in a while, or if you scratch the surface far enough, you get some weird Gonzo element, even if it's just like a little bit of science fantasy or like science fiction. Something that's not vanilla, something that's strikes the player characters as this doesn't necessarily fit in the world that we've come to know. Everything from Tecumel to Blackmore had some science fantasy stuff, right? To some of the early Gygax modules. I mean, I think that's been like a predominant theme in a lot of early D&D. And so I think what a lot of Gonzo folks like myself and like you like to do is either do that, like the mostly vanilla, but a little sprinkling of something else, like Gonzo on top, or like down in the center. Or you just go straight on Gonzo, which is kind of what I do. And then you kind of have to like keep topping yourself. Like I work hard to not make the new Gonzo thing seem like the last few Gonzo things. I always kind of want to make it fresh, because Gonzo and boring don't go together at all. I think if you're Gonzo and you're also doing something that you've done like lots before and it becomes boring, that's like the worst of both worlds.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, I feel like the player element is almost always going to be able to make some kind of you know, some kind of gold out of that. You know, so they're gonna be able to turn that coal into diamonds, I think. Unless they're just, I don't know, not good. Like they're just not good at interacting with things. You know, because the reason I say that is that, like I said, I have been doing a whole lot of vanilla fantasy lately. And, you know, there are times when I look at my prep and I'm like, this is really, really basic. I don't know if anything, you know, really great's going to come out of this. And then whenever we actually sit and play it, I'm like, damn, you know, like a lot of really cool stuff happened. And, a lot of it was just because, you know, you had interesting players with, you know, minds that are inquisitive, going in all kinds of different directions, and just doing things you didn't expect. And whenever you take that, then you add these weird elements to them. You know, I think it gets even better. You know, I'm not a like a Gonzo supremacist or anything like that. I'm not saying it's the way. It is the only way. And or you know, but I am saying that that I think that it's good to you know, hit different notes basically, and that is a damn fine brown note to hit every now and then.
The brown note. Gonzo supremacist. Maybe that fits me. I don't know.
Oh God, I shouldn't give you these ideas.
Yeah. I see a whole new marketing ploy opening up.
Oh God.
The Gonzo supremacist.
Oh. Doof says Dark Albion is my favorite Gonzo setting.
Yeah, take that, pundit.
Eric Martin says the exploding dragon was Gonzo. I mean, it kind of was. It kind of was. So for context, and by the way, I need to bring up Eric in a second. With regard to actually the actual topic. Well, I mean, this is still the topic. But basically, he had a potion of gaseous form. He used it to go up a dragon's nostril, and then he had an artifact that allowed him to self-detonate, basically, while inside the dragon's brain, which was crazy and like kind of toonish, but it was badass because they were like really low level, and he managed to just destroy a freaking dragon. And they just made off with a ton of treasure.
I remember that. I remember you explaining it in detail, and you were asking, like, you know, should I have done this? Like,
yeah,
maybe I should have put in like a couple more roadblocks, or you know, made it so easy for them. I mean, I don't know. And you can make a case either way.
Yeah,
but I think it's the maybe not easiness, but the fact that they were able to accomplish something so crazy and like high level, I think is offset by the fact that it was so awesome and memorable.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think the players, you know, as long as they're gaming in their life, years and years to come, I don't think they'll ever forget that. Because just how like crazy and inventive and cool and powerful it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I may be talking out of my ass here a little bit, so please forgive me if that's the case. But I get the feeling, you know, just from my personal search into like how the game evolved and all this kind of stuff, that it look, you know, and just like stuff about, you know, people reporting like gameplay with Gary and all that stuff. That it sounds like there was just kind of this arms race between Gary and his players about basically, you know, they'd come up with some ingenious thing that would just totally wreck his shit, and then he'd have to adapt and move to the next level, then constantly introduce more and more challenge. And I think this was one of those situations where basically like the ingenious plan, my brain wasn't prepared to set up the right like countermeasures. You know, it's like you're attacking an aircraft with really primitive technology and it doesn't have flares yet, you know? So like, I think that's kind of how I got shot down and destroyed. And it's not like a bad thing necessarily. I think it was great. And like you said, it was memorable. There's really no downside to it. It's just that I basically had to think of an update for, okay, next time I do gaseous form potions, I'm probably going to have like a little random chart to determine certain qualities that made it, you know, because I had all these questions. I didn't, but yeah, that's kind of like tangential, and I apologize to anybody if they don't care.
Some of the stories I've heard about Gary running his game, Every once in a while I'm like, I don't think I would have done that at all, and I don't think I would want to do that at all. Like, um, he used to turn characters to stone so often that they kept picking up like stone to flesh scrolls or something like that. Like there'd be like a half a dozen of them like laying around per adventure or something like that because he kept turning them to stone all the time. Like, and the whole like you said, like arms race, and when the game master is so involved with countering what the players do, like he's their opponent. Sometimes I pull back and I'm like, is that what a game master should be doing, or is that kind of like over the line? I don't know.
What do you think?
I think it's kind of over the line.
Okay.
And that's not my style. And I like every once in a while being adversarial as a game master, but I don't want it to be like. Well, I want it to feel real for one thing. And I think if you're, as a game master, always anticipating your players' moves in order to like counter them and like block them, then it loses some of that reality. It doesn't feel like you're in a world like experiencing it. It feels like, I don't know, you're in more of a game. You're playing a game that doesn't have a board, it doesn't have cards, it has dice, and you're basically playing against the game master to see who wins or something. I don't know. I like just more slice of life, like just play to see what happens, simulating like a world and other characters, NPCs, and then you just experience that and hope it feels real enough that people get into the game and feel immersed. That's my style. So I don't know. I've never played with Gary Gygax, and I don't know if his style changed over the years, but when I hear certain stories, I'm like, yeah, that's not at all what I do.
Yeah, for me, there's kind of a code of honor about it. As with pretty much anything else that maybe it's just like delusions of grandeur, but basically for me, I like to think that if it's, I wouldn't want to like predict their movements and then just counteract them. I think that's kind of dickish unless there's like a really good reason that the NPCs would do that, like they're scrying and the player, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But whenever it comes to they're taking advantage of something and I'm not really looking at it in a realistic way, like for instance, one of the things that happened was they were asking, well, could we get war dogs? And I was like, well, yeah, I'm sure you could probably buy some. Yeah, sure. Why not? I didn't really think about, like what's the availability of war dogs going to be on the Borderlands, and how many are they going to have available at any given time? How much are they going to cost? All that kind of stuff. So my initial rulings were actually really, really, really pretty lax, kind of like, oh yeah, you can order them around. Like they completely understand everything you say. They are 100% obedient. They're really inexpensive. They are very numerable, and then next thing you know, we have little mine detectors that bark. So
we told them that they needed like to buy like a trainer or like a war dog handler.
Yeah,
or...
that's the pathway we went down, was basically that there would be times that there'd be certain number that are available, which would refresh over time. That there would be a need in order to train them, for them to be more able to heed your commands and things like that. I did a little bit of research, not like a whole ton, but just looking at, well, how long does it take to raise those? And it just so happens that my father-in-law actually raises mastiffs, and it's like a year-long endeavor, just to raise one. It's a lot of food, And so it's a pretty big investment. So it's like you're not going to want to throw those things into the wood chipper,
No.
not unless it's for a pretty good amount of coin, and you're kind of unethical.
I mean, if you really want, if there are landmines, why not just use like a 10-foot pole?
That is true. That is true. There are actually, I don't know if you know this, but there are trained rats that can find land. I think it was rats. Some kind of small trained animal that can find landmines really easily, and it's not a dog. You would think it's a dog. Well, I mean, I'm sure dogs might be able to do it too.
Yeah,
but
maybe like a ferret or something, or
yeah, it's something like that. But
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's that kind of thing where like I just had to I had to absorb more of my thoughts on, and really usually I'd have to do a little bit of research to think about what is this going to be like from an immersive aspect, because just the idea that you have this limitless supply is just kind of weird. Same thing with oil flasks, oil flasks just being this this thing that's very, very, very inexpensive, incredibly plentiful, never really deplenishes, which again it was my failing. I'm not saying that that's like wrong in the rules or anything. And that it was, that they could just hurl them like Molotov cocktails constantly. And so I had to think about it a little bit more realistically. Otherwise,
because realism, and then also you don't want to be constantly taken advantage of.
Yeah. I ended up having one player, and I like to tease him about it, where I was like, "How many of those are you carrying?" And he's like, 40. I was like, "You're carrying 40 fucking oil flasks on your person while wearing plate mail and having all this other stuff?" I was like, "I don't think you are."
So then what happens if a wizard casts fireball on you?
God.
You just like implode, like
incinerate, instant incineration.
Right. There's got to be downsides, because that's life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all we're doing is like simulating the real world, but on some other like fantasy world. There's always going to be downsides. There's always going to be that cloud to the silver lining, and there's always going to be pros and cons, and bad days and bad luck, and so that kind of thing I enjoy. I enjoy thinking things through, and in the heat of the moment, it's very hard to do that. So sometimes you have to wait till after the session. Like, oh yeah, they want to carry 40 of those things around. So what's that going to be like? But I enjoy the puzzle of like, how would that work if this was the real world, or if we were taking that fantasy world in a real way, treating it like it was real. What are the pitfalls of carrying something like that around or whatever? So I enjoy that type of thinking, not because I'm trying to be a dick to the players, but because, well, those two things, like I want it to feel kind of real, and then I also don't want to be taken advantage of. If everything that you throw at the players is immediately countered by their 40 Molotov cocktails, or they're like 24 war dogs, then it's like, what am I even doing here?
We do have some comments here I do want to hit. So Malaki says the Rick and Morty starter set is Gonzo for 5e. And I'd be interested in seeing how good it is. Because I love Rick and Morty. At very worst, it'd be worth probably adapting to old school stuff. I mean, it'd very easily be run with Crimson Dragon Slayer, I'm sure.
Absolutely. And we did a show on Rick and Morty.
Yes. Although I kind of wish that I would have maybe I'll revisit. I don't know, because we just watched season 5. So
yeah, we could watch season 5 and then do like a part 2 of Rick and Morty.
Yeah. Rick and Morty's just that cool. Let's see. So Malaki pointed out there is a crash spaceship in Greyhawk Expedition to Barrier Peak. Yes, I was referencing that. Basically, now I have Expedition to Barrier Peak. I have not run it. I have put like that does exist in my Greyhawk game, And if the players ever go to that particular area, which is like the something of Jeff, I think it's the Duchy of Geoff or whatever, then they may find it there. They may find it. But I have run Frozen in Time, which is a Dungeon Crawl Classics module. And, I've read both, honestly, obviously. And there are some very, very strong similarities between them. And like, that's one of the things I kind of wanted to get to about like how to insert the Gonzo is just throw a crash spaceship. Like that's what both of those do is, you've got a crash spaceship. You've got some land or some kind of land mass that's kind of like developed around it in some way. In Expedition to Barrier Peaks, it's just kind of like in the middle of what looks like a mountain. It looks like it's just in a mountain, and you just got like a little door. And then in Frozen in Time, you've got like a giant glacier that's starting to melt. And so both cases, you got all these people freaking out because there's this weird stuff that's coming out, and people can't explain it. But there's some conventions in both of, I know it's an Expedition to Barrier Peaks. I can't remember if it's in Frozen in Time. But one of the things that I really love with anything like this is whenever you're doing this, like, it's fantasy, but actually we're introducing this Gonzo element, is giving the description of what they're seeing in terms that explain that this is completely alien to them, even though we as players would know 100% what a spaceship is, so instead describing it as, this strange metallic cave, is how it's described in Expedition to Barrier Peaks. And just that kind of stuff. You got like these plastic cards that are not plastic. I think they might be plastic, in order to get from one area to the other. And it's described as, like this weird glass thing, like colored glass or something like that. In order to, keep the players from, just feeling like they're, I don't know, like in a game, and, kind of like you were saying, be more like, no, what if you were these kinds of medieval people that are actually standing in front of a freaking spaceship? How are they going to process that and deal with that? I don't know. What are your thoughts?
A lot of people like that, and on a very limited basis, I also think that's pretty cool. But with Chalt, just, if I'm running a lot of it, just day in, day out, like having to explain things to the players in the minds of their characters that they're not going to understand. I think after a while that gets really tiresome.
Yes, it would.
For me. So and I don't have to worry about that with Chalt, which is nice because there's so much science fiction stuff around that they kind of know, like, oh, well, this is a laser, that's a spaceship, that's a robot. They kind of know that stuff already, so I don't have to like, and then you see this man, but he's got silver skin and his movements are kind of erratic, and he speaks with a weird monotone voice. And then you have to come up with words like euphemisms for like electronic or sensor, or after a while it just becomes so tiresome that I'm glad they don't have to do that with Chalt.
Well, yeah, that's a very solid point. Like, if you're running all kinds of different groups back to back to back, you're gonna, man, that would get really old. That's just a problem I've never had to encounter before, because usually it's like, we'll play with that kind of weird stuff, but then we're playing for a few months at least with the same group, and I don't ever have to do that exercise ever again, really. So that's a solid point. Let's see. Oh yeah. So I had to bring up Eric earlier because of the fact that he also, in a way, I kind of ended up running a campaign that had some Gonzo in it on accident, because my Old School Essentials game that was basically my take on Keep on the Borderlands. He was one of the referees in that game, and he took some of the players off to Purple Planet. It's Dungeon Crawl Classics, Harley Stroh. which
I bought it, but I never opened it. I have a lot of stuff that I bought and I never opened.
the sign of a collector.
Yeah, I guess for me, sometimes a product is like break in case of emergencies, like crack open in case of emergency. Like if I'm at a deadline and I need some sort of inspiration, or if my creative well is just run dry, open something up to sort of like spark my imagination. But then I never end up doing that. Anytime I feel creatively blocked, I either take a day off, or I watch a movie, or I just sit there and like stare at the blank page or screen until my mind is forced to come up with something. So what I do doesn't make any sense. That's what I'm saying. I buy these cool things, and then I have them sit on the shelf where they do no good, and I really need to start browsing some of the stuff, because I think that Purple Planet is still in the shrink wrap.
Oh, geez.
I need to get that out and take a look, because I have so many
man.
things. Yeah, I have like 24 things that I need to get out and take a look at. But finding the time is hard. I should make some now, because I bought it. It's part of my collection. I should familiarize myself with it. It's stupid not to.
Oh, snap. Dream Akuma says Dragon Magazine had an adventure that went to modern England. Pretty gonzo.
That's cool.
Yeah,
Dragon Magazine, because it came out every month. I think it forced the people writing articles and whatever to come up with weird stuff all the time. Like every once in a while, you'd get an adventure, or there was some short stories. I don't know if they were broken up into different parts of one short story, or if there were just multiple short stories. But I used to collect the Dragon Magazine, and then sometimes I would just read blog posts about people, exploring a certain issue, like Grognardia. Would take a look at Dragon Magazine, and I used to read those articles or those blog posts. Yeah, I mean, Dragon Magazine was cool. It's just you never knew what was going to happen in the next issue. Just weird stuff. So
that sounds like good shit, though. Covering a bunch of wide topics. Let's see. So there we have. It was The City Beyond the Gate, Dragon Magazine number 100. Chthonic Musing says AD&D modules EX1 Dungeon Land and EX2 The Land Behind the Magic Mirror are pretty gonzo. So we got some gonzo streaks in TSR stuff.
Yeah, I think at least one of those was based on like Alice in Wonderland, I think.
Probably the latter, I would imagine. Well,
probably. I think
actually, it mimight have been the former, because I think somebody was talking about Dungeon Land and how it had a lot of. Now I'm.
A lot of gonzo goes to like fairy tale territory, which I think could be pretty fruitful if you either are very familiar with a particular fairy tale, or if you just like that kind of thing.
I mean,
I don't
go ahead.
do that. That's just because I don't know. Fairy tales really aren't my thing, or what get my juices going. But I know a lot of people that like doing that, and that's cool for them. So
yeah, I mean, it seems to definitely have a market. Obviously, Red in Pleasant Land is pretty big in the OSR, or at least it was. Now you might not catch so many people willfully admitting their appreciation for it. But then you have, gosh, I'm trying to think. There was a Neverland one that came out not too long ago. I haven't checked it out, but it sounded really good. Let's see. Actually, I have a few myself, because I mean, I find that they're really interesting, and they're because they fairy tales have kind of a dark streak about them. They kind of can satisfy whimsy and at the same time like grim dark at the same like kind of in the same breath, and that can be really really interesting. But yeah, you're like more the higher on the whimsy and possibly even like I don't know, kind of happy side, like your Alice in Go Wonderlands of Disney, style. Like putting in stuff like that could do some interesting stuff. I feel like well, I mean, I feel like some of your Chalt stuff kind of had that quality, even though it wasn't fairy tale. With the zaniness, it had some of that quality, coming across.
It's whimsical. I think Aladdin is still pretty cool. Just because I like that kind of like ancient Arabic kind of weird, exotic. It's like foreign, but yet familiar enough where it's not so weird. Just like what? I don't know. There's just something cool about the desert and the pyramids, especially with Aladdin, like the Cave of Wonders. And then you get the genie and the flying carpet and sorcerers and sultans and princesses and stuff like that. So
yeah, I have a hard like I have yet to really find a any kind of culture period that I haven't found interesting in some capacity. And like there's some of them maybe like a little bit more interesting to me than others, I think. But I would say that that's definitely up there. And like it wouldn't be a bad way to go to take some Wishmaster and put that into your Agribah.
Yeah, I think I've seen. Yeah, that's what the like a genie demon.
Yeah. He's very big on the monkey's paw thing.
Okay. Oh, he grants wishes and it turns out bad, right?
Oh yeah. Okay. And one guy tells him to blow him, and he's like, okay, and he like, and then dude like flies up into a some horns on the wall, like
okay,
antlers or whatever. Yeah, that kind of thing. I
think I've seen one of those movies. Maybe it's the first one. I don't know.
They're not special, but they're special in my heart. It's it's kind of I don't know, it's kind of like the latter Hellraisers. Like
it's like a poor man's Hellraiser, right? That's kind of what it is?
It's fair enough, I think.
Okay.
Let's see.
I don't want to insult your beloved franchise. So if that was insulting, my apologies. But that's kind of how it strikes me. I think I was interested in getting them though, because the first one I watched, I was like, this is kind of cool. I could see what the other ones are like. And I don't remember. I should look at my DVD collection. I don't even remember if I bought. Feels like I might have bought a box set of that and like never watched it. And I do that with movies too. I buy a movie or a collection of movies, and then some of them, I swear to God, are like 20 years old. They're still in the fucking shrink wrap. But I have a huge collection, and I can't watch everything.
That's the.
If I've had a movie for 20 years, there's really no excuse why I haven't seen it, except maybe I just have like this impression that I'm not going to love it. I don't know.
It's like that Twilight Zone thing where you've got all the books in the world, but your glasses break.
Yeah.
Got all this great stuff, but not enough damn time.
Yeah. You have all those movies, but then you don't have a DVD player or something. You're like, goddamn Twilight Zone.
We have some saying that it was Dungeon Land that was based on Alice in Wonderland. Some love for rats. Let's see.
Someone mentioned Blazing Saddles.
Yes, Blazing Saddles is pretty special stuff.
You gotta know your audience.
Okay, we have some love for Dolmen Wood. Yes, Dolman wood, which is necrotic gnomes, kind of fairy tale esque
Yeah.
fantasy setting, from what I understand. I've heard really good things about it. I haven't checked it out yet, but that's really more just because I'm overloading them on this kick of trying to, go through TSR history and stuff. So
Yeah. There's so many different sub genres and like little niches for D&D for like campaign settings. I mean, there's just literally so many. Usually you can categorize them like fairy tale stuff, and then like more realistic, like medieval, authentic stuff. Then of course Gonzo, and then mostly vanilla, but a little bit science fantasy too. Then like post-apocalypse, and epic fantasy, low fantasy. And then the ones that replicate human cultures, like Aztecs and stuff like that, and then like Vikings, and then Arabian Nights, Aladdin type stuff. There's really so many, so many. So I don't know. I would say just find a niche that you love and develop that. Like if you're going to start a campaign, like choose one campaign setting and then just go with that. Obviously I kind of chose Gonzo and ran with it, but you could do a lot of stuff, and then you could add Gonzo into whatever setting you want. You don't have to go crazy with the Gonzo. You could just do like little elements here and there, to make it less vanilla, because vanilla by definition is kind of boring.
I mean, I don't know that I would go that far, but like I said,
it's really bad. I mean, if if you've dated like a stripper that's also like a drug mule or something like that, then and that relationship goes sour, then the next girlfriend you get, maybe you think she's kind of boring, but then you're like, but I like that. Well, not necessarily a bad thing.
So you're saying Gonzo is toxic.
Okay. What's that?
You're saying Gonzo is toxic.
It can be.
It's your toxic.
If you inject it straight into your veins, and you do too much at once, it can be toxic.
That's fair. Yeah, don't mainline Gonzo, everybody.
No.
Take breaths, drink some water.
Freebasing Gonzo is bad for your health. I don't even know what freebasing is, but I know it's a drug term. So
so we mentioned the crash spaceship trope is one good way to throw in some Gonzo, and I guess just to like add on to that, some of the stuff that I do love about that is that you can have these features in your fantasy world that they just feel like weird by contrast. I mean, so like for instance, the kind of stuff that you might see on a on a spaceship might be stuff that is really not too far-fetched for like modern days. Like you maybe have like a holodeck with like I don't know, like puppet theater or something really weird going on like that, or like in Chalt you've got the Black Pyramid, you've got like a movie theater, and you've got like a pizza delivery man and that kind of thing.
Yes.
You can have that kind of stuff. Frozen in Time has this one really weird like device that like creates this stuff out of paste. I can't remember what it does, but like if you mess with it properly, you can get these really wacky things. And then there's on the Hubris introductory adventure, there's this table that you can press different buttons on. You don't know what the buttons do, but basically they swap body parts, for whoever's strapped to the table with something else. So like it'll attach like claw arms and stuff like that. And, cool. They can basically, you can have all this crazy shit that they can interact with. And, then they can emerge from this wrecked spacecraft or whatever it is, and, go back to the city and people are like, what in the fuck is this guy? Yeah. Or like, what is this thing that they have? You've got this crazy, blaster pistol, I just love it. I love it, man. Let's see.
Because you want that, because you would love to see that in your real life. I think that's one of the draws, because it's like you don't get to experience that in the real world. Like, what if you explored like an ancient spaceship? That's not like available to us in our own
right
normal, real, pathetic lives. So that's cool to do in the game, because it's a fantasy game, and if you can immerse yourself in something far out and wild and cool that you would love to do in the real world, that's just really cool and a no-brainer. Like, why not include that? Because if it's something you would love to do that you can't do in the real world, that's the perfect type of thing that you can put in your game. Because who wouldn't like to do something really cool that they can't do in the real world, that would be totally possible if you set it up in the right way in Dungeons and Dragons, or whatever system or campaign you're running.
Sorry, I was trying to mute her coughing in time and I missed. But yeah.
Mute. Unmute.
There's this comment from Malaki: and Goodman Games conversion of Barrier Peak, the players could play video games inside the ship that was an RPG. They got separate characters and everything. I think that sounds interesting. So they were metagaming, because
nice.
Game within a game. So the I don't want to harp on the spaceship thing too much, because we don't have a whole lot of time left, but there is one other way that I like to, two other ways I like to inject them. One of them is really not going to take long to talk about at all. One of them is just like really zany characters that use illusory magic. And, so I did that once where I had this character that used just an absolute fuck ton of illusory magic, of the permanent variety, to create like, these strange mirages and things like that that are just absolute absurd, kind of to the point where they were walking around in the Underdark and they encountered what was basically a strange carnival with all of these Slod. No, it wasn't Slod. Well, it was Slod. Slod working at a carnival with a bunch of the little robot D&D robot ones, the monodrones or whatever. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, with like the one eye and they're weird shapes.
Yeah. They're all those
Modrons. Is that what they're called? Modrons.
Modrons. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. Just throwing that in there. It's really easy to. I mean, it's bizarre, but the players had a lot of fun with it, because it was the last thing that they were expecting, but there was a reason behind basically every single bit of it. This guy was a time traveling, he was basically like Rick Sanchez, but in lich form. And so why wouldn't he have seen these kinds of things, and he's replicating them just to fuck around with people on the fantasy playing,
Yeah, there you go. I keep running out of power. That's go back to this.
Hate that.
The guy got my plug right here. 4%. I wanted to like dip down and then lose the signal or whatever. Anyway, that sounds really cool.
It was a good time. The other thing, so for me, the other way to insert some kind of Gonzo, especially Gonzo that they can maybe deal with for a while, but then get out of, that one they can just step in and out of if it's just like a bunch of illusions. Like, they can decide Camelot is a silly place, we're not going to go there. But the other way is perhaps demiplanes. So you could have a demiplane that feasibly has vastly different physics and all this kind of stuff. And I mean, it could be, it could be damn near anything that makes it happen, or at least just some kind of planar travel. But I like demiplanes because I like the idea that you're just going to get sucked into this entirely different world. And, whatever it is, it wants you there for a reason. And it's not letting you go until you solve whatever the problem is. And that's,
that sounds a lot like Doctor Who. He would go to some interesting location in time and space, and then there'd be some sort of problem, either with the TARDIS or that the Doctor would have to solve, or missing circuit, or a companion like got misplaced or shanghaied or something like that, and then then he has to go on the adventure, or else because he can't just leave.
Mm-hmm.
He gets sucked in, and there's a task to perform, or a mystery to solve, or someone to help, and then when that's done, then you get back to the TARDIS, and yeah.
Yes, that was a great example. I didn't even think about that, but yeah, for those who haven't watched Doctor Who, I'm sure that Venger would tell you to watch the old stuff, and I'd tell you that
He would tell you to watch the old stuff.
I haven't watched
The
a lot of the
ways
old
are
stuff.
best.
I don't doubt it, really, but I have watched. I think it's season like the 9th Doctor to the 12th Doctor, and it was pretty good stuff. I haven't watched the Lady Doctor, and it's not because I'm like terribly against it or anything. I just stopped
You misogynist.
Well, I mean, but I will say that the episodes that I've heard about, they didn't sound very good. So, yeah. I feel like
I've heard a bunch of things.
I might watch the Capaldis. I haven't watched those yet. I might watch those, but I will. As far as was it Matt Smith? I was about to say Matt Stone, but that's the South Park guy. No, Matt Stone's the South Park guy. The Matt Smith one, David Tennant and Christopher Eccleston. Those ones were really good, in my opinion.
Yeah, sometime I will see them. I've seen one. I think I've seen one episode of the new ones, and maybe two. That was a few years ago. They were pretty good, but I'm just I don't know. I just like the vintage Tom Baker, John Pertwee.
It's understandable. But one thing that I just thought of that's an interesting concept is that's actually a really great show to watch to learn about how to set up and deal with non-combat encounters.
Yeah.
Because I mean, how often do they really fight? It's more like run, solve problem, find out who the bad guy is and convince them that they're wrong, or set them up, or screw them over. I mean, occasionally it's like annihilate the, like the entire species or whatever, but not often.
Yeah. They get captured a lot. So they're held at gunpoint pretty frequently. Sometimes they're put in some sort of holding cell. Occasionally, they're shot at, and then they just have to like run away. Or they're put into some sort of like James Bond villain like contraption or scenario where their death is kind of imminent, and then the bad guys like have better things to do, so they just like take off and like, those guys will die in a few minutes, so let's just go do this other thing, and then of course they escape.
Chthonic actually says that we played a Gonzo kitchen sink game that was heavily influenced by Time Bandits. It was a Chaosium percentile game. Whenever someone rolled a 100, a gate appeared to a new random location. Yeah, that's Time cool. Bandits. My Time Bandits campaign is the one that got away, so I'm going to have to do that at some point. But
what kind of Time Bandits campaign was this?
Well, so like we started it, we did like one session, and then it's just everybody's schedule fell apart. Basically, the whole it kind of had a mix of the TARDIS plus this idea of like you're just time traveling in all these different places that are going to be, like for instance, they went to the Wild West, but the Wild West is going to have some weird West fantasy like stuff mixed in, just like really, really, really crazy. And it was shaping up to be really cool. And then after that, they would have just all kinds of different settings, feudal Japan, maybe like I don't know, Neo Tokyo in the future, just all kinds of stuff like that.
So two questions, or maybe one is a question, one is a thing to say. So the first question is, did you include the map,
The map.
the Time Bandits map?
Oh no, it wasn't like it wasn't that like
Okay.
that direct necessarily.
It was like inspired by.
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing is, if I can think of it, shoot.
The answer was DCC, Ancient Grim. That's what system.
If I was doing that, and I would definitely want some like neoclassical revival, because whenever I think of that system, I kind of think of the Sean Connery bits of the Time Bandits movie, where he's like fighting the Minotaur, and it's like, I don't know, like early Macedonia or something. I don't even know what culture or time period that is, but it just feels like that neoclassical, ancient Greek revival, or whatever it is. I don't know. That would be really cool, and that'd be a cool way to get there.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Rift Japan mixes cyberpunk Neo Tokyo and feudal Japan. That sounds pretty badass, I gotta say.
Yeah, that does sound cool. Oh shit! It's 8:31.
It is time.
Yes, we should wrap it up. Or at least I have to wrap it up. So if there's any last words that you have before we adjourn?
I think we covered what I wanted to cover pretty much.
Okay. Do you have anything you want to shill or promote or talk about quick?
Shill, not so much. I mean, I've been considering, putting something into the Game Jam. With going on. But I haven't quite settled on it yet, just because I don't know if I can commit to getting. Mostly, what I need to do is just a little bit of revision and then some formatting, because that's mostly the only problem I have left with one of the products that I've been really wanting to re-release, and that's the Haunted Hospital one. So I just don't know if I can commit to it yet, but I don't know. So nothing yet. But do you have anything to shill?
Well, yeah, the OSR Game Jam. That's pretty awesome. Maybe you could put a link in the description when this comes out, or maybe pin a comment or something like that. The latest Chult book came out like, I don't even know, a week and a half ago. Chult.
Oh, it did.
Chartreuse Shadows.
Yes.
So that's something worth buying on drive-through, because that's available now, and then I won't have the hardcovers until like June. So if you want a hardcover of that, you gotta wait. And then still selling tickets for VentureCon. So if anybody wants a old school OSR traditional focused role-playing game convention in Madison, Wisconsin this July, get your tickets to VentureCon.
Too damn far, but
I know.
Otherwise, I would go.
Yeah, I'm hoping people around here will, come out and game with us. That'd be cool. But yeah, this is a big ass country, so if you live on the other side, it's almost like the other side of the world. So I totally get. If you're coming from many states away, it's a trek plus hotel, whatever. I mean, the hotel can be a deal, but still, conventions are pricey. But hopefully a lot of local support will come out, and I'm just trying to get to it'd be nice to get 50 people. I'm going up to 100, but if I can get 50 people attending VentureCon, that would be awesome. So, yeah, if you're watching and you want to go, buy your ticket and come on down, play with us all weekend.
And one of these days, I need to just bite the bullet and do a road trip to some cons. Because she's always wanting to get out of the house for extended lengths of time, and So we'd kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah, now that COVID is, winding down, if not over.
Calming its tits.
I mean, I anticipate that at the end of this month, GaryCon will be the last fully masked convention, like big gaming convention. I hope it is. I hope that the conventions going forward will not be masked, because then they'll be much better. So yeah, it's been a rough couple of years with conventions, but now that things are kind of opening up, yeah, you should definitely get out and do some local ones.
All right. A few questions here at the end, or comments to hit. And if you have to go, it's fine. But Ancient Grim says, does the jam release have to be written during this time period? I don't think so. If it does, then I'd have to submit something else.
I think it's a month-long thing from the beginning of March to the end of March. So I think you have 3 more weeks.
Well, I think the question is basically like, can it be something you've already written and you're doing it now, or do you have to write it within the month? And if it's
something you've been working on for the last 2 years, yeah, you could submit it. Yeah,
I hope so, because otherwise I'll have to make something new. Which would be fine. Yeah, that wouldn't be bad. I think that might be how it is supposed to be done. So yeah, he's asking that clarification. Malaki has this idea here, and I absolutely love it. He says, I got an idea for an adventure. Players working in a government facility. Security goes down and all these cryptids escape. The players can try and get out or stop them. If y'all have heard of, there's a game on PlayStation and Xbox, I think, called Control. And it's kind of a similar principle. It's really cool. And that would be a really awesome way. I mean, you can introduce all kinds of Gonzo elements with that. I mean, there's a section in Control where you end up fighting a gigantic refrigerator, because it's a crazy object of immense paranormal power, basically. And it's cool. See you later. What else we got? This isn't Nano Remo. Go ahead and submit things. Ancient Grim says, okay, sometimes jams restrict to being created during the time period of the jam. I'll have to look specifically, because I don't want to cheat. But yeah, so I'll find out, and I should do a video on the Game Jam. Specifically, a lot of people have been covering it, but I guess just in case people don't know, maybe I can cover it. And I will definitely get a hold of definitely get a hold of Taylor Lane. Taylor Lane hangs out on my Discord server occasionally, which is very awesome. And if you don't, then you should come join us. Just be sure to don't be a dick. That's rule number 1. Rule number 2, no prawn. And rule number 3, no politic. And yeah, do all those. We're good. So we're there for the gaming. In any case, thanks for hanging out. See y'all next month. Peace.